Alright, this is the review for the Bullfrog Practical tomorrow. The external nares are found anteriorly on the face, right here and here. You can tell that they are part of the internal nares, which are located within the mouth because you can poke that through. Okay, so internal nares are inside the body, external nares are outside the body. The nictitating membrane is basically a third eyelid for the frog. On this particular organism, it's really easy to see. You can tell that it is a transparent protective covering. When the bullfrog is underwater, it's capable of actually withdrawing its eyeballs and its head, and then that allows the nictitating membrane to come up and cover the eyeball so that it can swim underwater and have eyes protected. The pupil is the center part of the eye. On you, it is the black part of your eyeball, and it is what allows light into the eye of the frog. And then on the outside, completely surrounding the pupil, is the iris, and that controls the amount of light that goes into the frog's eye. The retina perceives light. It's at the back of the eye. You did not have to identify that. You just had to write that down. The cornea is simply the transparent covering of the eyeball, so it basically extends from the skin. The tympanum is the circular shaped disc on either side of the frog's head, posterior to the eyes, and they're responsible for perceiving sound waves. They vibrate. This is the pollex. In this female frog, it's significantly smaller than in the male frog that we'll look at. And finally, for external anatomy, we have the vent, which is also known as the cloacal opening. Either would be acceptable, and it is found back here. That's how digestive and excretory wastes, along with gametes, exit the body. Okay. Now we are on to mouth anatomy. The mandible is the lower jaw. It's right here. The tongue is right here. You'll notice that it's attached to the front of the mouth to allow for further extension out of the mouth when it captures prey. The maxillary teeth are found all along this ridge. These hold insects in the mouth. They are near the vomerine teeth, which are the two little protrusions from the roof of the mouth. They're vestigial, meaning that they don't have any function anymore. They were thought to have served as another way of holding prey in the mouth, but scientists have found that that is not the case. Again, for the internal nares, right here and here. Here are the eye socket bulges. They're found right here and here, and you can push up on the eye socket bulge to make the eye a little bit more visible right here. Okay, so it's kind of where the eyes can be sucked into the head more, and they actually do help in swallowing. We also have eustachian tubes, which are connected to the tympani. So here's a eustachian tube back here, another one right here, and you'll know that it's the eustachian tube because you can see that it connects right here to the tympanum. Okay. Back of the throat, a lot of people seem to be getting this one confused, so let's just make sure that we know. The bulge on the ventral side of the throat that has a slit down the middle is the glottis. This whole thing is the glottis right here. Okay. Dorsal to it, and running horizontally across the back of the throat, is the gullet, and that leads into the esophagus. The glottis leads into the lungs. Okay, so the glottis is respiratory in function. The gullet is digestive in function. Okay. All right. Internal anatomy now. We have the ventral abdominal vein, which is seen right here on this frog. It's responsible for carrying blood to the heart. Arteries carry blood away from the heart. We have the pericardial membrane. There's still a little bit left over on this frog. Okay, you can see it right here. The pericardial membrane is responsible for protecting the heart and keeps it encased. This is the liver right here. There's 3 lobes of the frog liver. Okay, underneath the right lobe of the liver, and again, the liver is responsible for producing digestive enzymes along with bile. Right here is the gallbladder, which is responsible for storing the bile within the frog. The esophagus can be found by locating the stomach and then going more anterior in the frog. So this up here, this whole region up this way, is the esophagus. This down here is the stomach. Okay. If you continue down the stomach, So this straight part of the intestine, this is called the duodenum. Between the stomach and the duodenum is the pancreas, which in this particular frog is found right here. It is this structure right here. It looks kind of like a little ribbon. Okay. Pancreas and duodenum both produce digestive enzymes. This right here is mesentery. There's more mesentery found within the small intestine also. This all right here is mesentery. You'll notice that it's highly vascularized, so that basically holds blood vessels in place and holds the organs themselves in place. All of this tissue right here is small intestine tissue. Moving further along in the digestive system, if we follow the small intestine more posterior, we will come to a part where it gets significantly wider. There's quite a bit greater circumference. This right here is the colon, or large intestine. It's responsible for water reabsorption. Further along the passageway is the cloaca. The cloaca is responsible for collecting digestive, excretory wastes along with the gametes. So if it's a female, this is where the eggs will end up getting passed to. If it's a male, this is where sperm gets passed to. Moving on to heart anatomy. This right here is the ventricle of the heart. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and pull a little bit of fat off of this heart so that we can see some of the structures a little bit more clearly. Okay. This is the left atrium. Okay. This structure next to the left atrium, you'll notice that it is significantly rounder in shape. It's kind of like a tube. It is a vessel. It's the conus arteriosus. Brings blood away from the heart into the body. Behind or to the left of the conus arteriosus is the right atrium, and in this particular frog it's this whole thing right here. It's the right atrium. The sinus venosus is found behind the ventricle right here. This blue structure is the sinus venosus. Blood will enter into the right atrium from the sinus venosus. Okay. The lungs of most of your frogs are very, very small and kind of up by where their shoulders would be. So this right here is one of the lungs, and again, very similar in color to the liver, but they're a bit darker and more, I would say, more purplish in color. They're responsible for gas exchange or respiration. Either of those would be appropriate functions. The other lung is kind of buried amongst some fat bodies. Here's the other lung. Right here. Okay. Kidneys are found down in near the back. Okay, they're responsible for blood filtration, production of nitrogenous waste. Depending on whether they live on land or in water, it could be urea or uric acid or ammonia. The frog's urinary bladder is what collects and holds the nitrogenous waste before it passes into the cloaca. In this particular frog, it looks as though the urinary bladder has been ruptured, but it's generally found down here. This is part of the urinary bladder. Fat bodies are over here. They are long-term energy storage, what their function is. This right here are the ovaries. They produce eggs. The oviducts are responsible for passing the eggs from the ovaries down into the cloaca. And finally, we will move on to a male frog, so that we can identify the testis. Please, a lot of people were confusing the colon with the testis, or the colon is right here. This is one testis. You can see that there's a little bit of fat body still associated with that. And then the other testis is over here, and again, here's the other fat body. Okay, so this is the colon. Testes are found pretty much sitting on top of either kidney. And that's it for all of the structures that you'll be required to know. Good luck studying.